Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to continue our dried finger run, but I've been working a lot the past couple of weeks, and as a result, what time I do have to sit down and play, I wanted to do something a little different than the dried finger run. I've been going pretty hard on that. I wanted to just do some regular invasions. So, I sat down with my sword and shield and went invading at the Archdragon Peak. And today's video, the topic of today's video, is going to be on the Leo Ring in PvP. While I was streaming the other day, a guy asked, why are you wearing the Leo Ring? And the chat was pretty quick to point out that, well, it's because all the R2s on a Lothric Straight Sword are pokes, and that works well with the Leo Ring. Here's an example. Stuck in attack animation, counterattack damage, 411 damage from an R2 poke. So that's why we wear the Leo ring. And for comparison, 211 damage for an R2 poke on someone who is not in the middle of an attack. Now, weapons like Freed Scythe, the Claws, weapon art, any kind of attack that leaves you open for a period of time and keeps you stuck in an attack animation while you are frozen. You know what I mean? It's like when you press that button, you've committed to an attack that takes a while, and as a result, thrust attacks are going to do their counter damage to you. That's how the Leo Ring works, right? But the viewer over in Twitch got me thinking, why am I wearing the Leo Ring all the time? Against certain weapon matchups, yeah, sure. But is it something that I should be wearing all the time? So, to test this out, I went and picked on everybody's favorite PvP VE dummy, the Drakeblood Knight. We're going to kind of get a base here. 199 for an R2 poke. That seems to be the going rate. Fully charged gets us 310 damage. That was not a counterattack. And you can see, getting a counterattack is a little more difficult than one would think it is. It actually basically requires that the opponent leave themselves wide open. Like, that's not a counterattack, even though we both hit each other at the same time pretty much. But fortunately, the Drakeblood Knight decides to go R2 crazy here. And so just spacing it out, I'm able to hit him with an R2, and he's stuck in that animation, so we get the 298 counter damage instead of the 198, whatever it was. So about 100 extra damage on that guy. Keep in mind, armor will play an effect here because it's counter damage is based off of absorptions. And if you could freeze your character, if you could pause the game during an attack animation and look at his stats, you would see your absorption to thrust defense goes down significantly. Now, certain weapons, like the Rapier, the Astok, and the Lothric Knight Sword, to my knowledge, don't have a sweet spot mechanic, like spears and scythes, meaning that you don't have to hit with a certain specific part of the weapon in order to get the benefit of counter damage with the Leo Ring. I bring this up and I show off this clip because I've started keeping a spear on my character for chasing down people like this that just want to run away from you. And you would think that there would be obvious synergy between the spear and the Leo Ring, but I'm finding that's not the case. I believe it's going to require a level of skill that I don't have yet with the spear, if I'm just being totally honest. But this invasion also brings up another great point that's going to lead us to the next, I guess, chapter of this video, which is ring swapping. Why keep a ring on you all the time that doesn't benefit you all the time? It's one of my main complaints with the Hornet Ring. Speak of the devil. He was trying to parry me, and then he whips these things out. He's just asking to be backstabbed. And I know that, so I equip the Hornet Ring, and I get him with the backstab. But I didn't just walk around with the Hornet Ring on the entire fight. I knew better because it wasn't going to benefit me unless I was getting a critical attack. Well, the same could be said of the Leo Ring, so why am I wearing it all the fucking time? To answer the guy's question in Twitch? I don't know. Now, against a hyper armor weapon, a lot of times the smart thing to do, and the easiest way to do it, is let them swing. If they swing twice, and you can get in between their hyper armor with a straight sword, you're golden. You're good to go. For this fight, I decided to try something different. Pardon the latency I'm experiencing with my opponent here. But you can see 471 damage with thrust attacks, not charged, just typical two-handed thrust attacks. I got 315 on the roll catch there with thrust attack. 315 seems to be the base. 400 and whatever is the counter damage. That's great sword damage on a straight sword. You know what I mean? And that's a pretty quick little straight sword attack there. It would be even faster if I was one-handing my weapon, and I would still retain benefit of the shield. But for the purposes of this fight, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to show off the two-handed pokes. Every R2 is a two-handed poke. Again, it's not like a straight sword or a long sword, where the follow-up R2 is a slash. Actually, on a straight sword, on a long sword or a sunlight blade or whatever the hell, sunlight straight sword, I think the R2 is a slash anyway. The two-handed R2 is a slash, yeah. But you can see here, this guy's using a slow weapon. On top of that, he's using it one-handed, which makes it even slower. We are consistently getting 471 damage on this guy. Now, if I had a connection to him that was like worth a shit, if we didn't have this much latency between us, this wouldn't even be a fight, because a lot of the hits he's getting are hits that wouldn't have, they would have been easier to dodge if we didn't have that much latency between us. At the end of the fight there, you saw I finished him off with the weapon art R2, and that's going to bring us to the last point I want to make, which is that the weapon art R2 is, again, I don't know why I'm the only person preaching this, straight sword weapon art R2 is like the most broken ass weapon art in the game. But we'll get to that. Over the course of this invasion, these little skips that we're seeing, where I'm kind of, fading to black, that's me retreating, that's me, doing ring swaps, etc., etc. These little gaps in time can represent anywhere from, 5 to 45 seconds. He used a seed during that last one. Never once. I did all kinds of ring swaps. Keep an eye on my health bar up there underneath my stamina, and you'll see that I'm doing ring swaps in between these skips. I've gone to Silvercat Ring, I've gone to Obscuring Ring, I've gone to Chloranthy. Never once has it occurred to me to take off the fucking Leo Ring, because I'm using it like it's a safety blanket instead of a utility. Now, we saw how well the fight went for the guy who brought a curved greatsword to me last time, and I was able to rely on the pokes to win. This time, it's a little different. Can't take advantage, because the host is sitting there slinging crossbow bolts or swinging his claws or his rapier at me. And so the Leo ring, a more calculated ring swap decision, it wouldn't do me any good here. The host is using a straight sword, for Christ's sakes, a thrusting sword. So I'm never going to get in counterattacks against this guy. His attacks are just far too fast. Unless he goes for something like a fully charged R2, then yeah, sure, I could get a counterattack in on that. But why would he ever do that? And again, I'm going to do some more ring swaps during this little blackout here. And that Leo ring is still staying right there. Never bother taking it off. Never even occurs to me to take it off until the fight becomes so super manageable that I basically am left with no other option but to take it off. The host runs back to the bonfire, leaves his poor blue buddy who ran out of Estus like a long time ago. Leaves him alone. And the fight's over with the blue. So now it occurs to me, okay, well, let's do some ring swaps. And I think to myself, well, the Leo ring, he's using a straight sword. I'll go with the Hornet ring because I can get a parry on that rapier. That lasts for all of, oh, let's see here, 7, 8, 9 seconds before I immediately switch back to the Leo ring. But it worked out for the best. My opponent had switched to an Ultra Great Sword, which meant I could get some counterattacks in with pokes. And here, the weapon art R2. Look at the damage on this. 601 damage. That's counter damage. That's thrust damage. Leo ring. That guy was in an attack animation. You know what I mean? 601 damage with a fucking straight sword? That fast? Are you kidding me? I will add that weapon art R2 is super easy to parry. That is its weakness. But it's not meant to just be done when someone can parry. It's meant to be a counterattack. Everything about it implies that it's meant to be a counterattack. I mean, it gives a straight sword hyper armor. That's why it's easy to parry. It's meant for trades. So, that'll do it for us today. In conclusion, if you're not using it in a stock, and you are using the Leo ring, and you keep it on you like a safety blanket, might be time to rethink it. Later, y'all.